helping other people lean into their passions and gifts and basically be the full expression of them in the world, which involves marketing, to be honest, because you're getting your voice out there and your message out there. So I started helping marketers and entrepreneurs and then non-marketers go from, being in that early stage to actually, being a fully fledged business and getting their voice out there. But when I started doing that a few years ago, I didn't have the systems in place to build my brand and build that authority quickly. And it's quickly realized that it's really different, especially these days, from, marketing other people's stuff. So I made a really big call. I had a membership at the time and I had a launch scheduled. It was all planned and mapped out. And I actually canceled that. I put that on, over 2 years ago. I actually canceled the whole thing and instead spent several months knuckled down doing nothing else apart from figuring out this content base. There has to be a better way for people who can't go around the clock. Like, sure, I know how to get a message out, I know how to draw a crowd, I know how to do all of that, but it took a lot of work. And so I wanted to figure out how these systems could be done in a way that still maintained my authenticity, not just farming stuff out for the sake of it, but very efficiently at the same time. So I spent months testing lots of things, experimenting, building a team, putting in place systems, seeing what worked, how everything worked together specifically for this purpose. And then the result was amazing because I created this system, and as soon as I did, suddenly my own content was completely scalable. I started to be really proud of what I was putting out. I knew that it was building my brand quickly because people started to take notice of me. But the amazing thing was that they actually would start to reach out to me. And that was when content creation became really light, it became really fun. And so because I have an agency, I actually tested a lot of these systems and processes and methods with my clients. And they would, pay nicely for that. It was kind of to have all of this done for them, packaged up with a neat little bow, would be like $5,000 to $7,000 a month. And it worked and it was great. And it was so easy because it involved so little of their time and quickly positioning them as thought leaders. But then I realized there's a whole segment of the market, a lot of people I knew, friends, colleagues, etc., who needed this information, these processes, these systems, and these steps, like how to do this in a way that's authentic as well. So I took all of that and packaged that up. And that's what I've been doing over the last few years, is really teaching people how to do that in a way that's sustainable. So this is what I'm going to be teaching you today, basically walking you through that whole framework so that you can understand what it takes to build a brand and what powers the authority and the connection piece. And in so doing, you can be more, get paid and be more commercially successful, but also have that greater impact at the same time as well. So as we get into it, you don't need me to tell you that we are in a super crowded marketplace at the moment. Everyone's online. And if you thought it was busy like a year ago or 2 years ago, it's even more so now. If people are not online, they're going online. And if they're already online, they are ramping up their volume. They are putting out more stuff, going all in and turning up more content. And the result is there's twofold, two big results that are coming out of that. One, the average consumer is suffering from content fatigue and what I like to call infobesity, with so much information coming at them at the same time. And the result is that I like to call it like a BS detector, is at an all-time high because their brain is trying to keep them safe and filter out all of the stuff that they don't need. And as a result, so much content gets filtered out. And that means for content creators, for businesses, for anyone trying to get cut through, it's so much harder to get cut through in a crowded marketplace because there are so many people clamoring for attention. Having said that, it's not all bad news. Because smart people know that there are ways around that. And at the bottom line of that is that people are definitely filtering out salesy stuff, gimmicky stuff, like, all of this, cookie cutter stuff. However, they are definitely still open to being helped when they don't want to be sold to, and definitely open to having a conversation. So you've probably heard of this concept, the know, like, and trust factor, where this is, what people need to have in order for them to do business with you. And this is where content comes in, because it's better than paid ads, because you're building a relationship online and you're actually ripening your audience for commercial interaction. So as we get into this, it's really important, just so that when I use the word content, we're all on the same page, because I know that, everyone has their own definition of what that might be. And for some people, it could be their Instagram posts and stories. For other people, it's a blog or a podcast or, something they write. The reality is content is anything that's watched or read or listened to that informs, entertains, enlightens, teaches, or helps. So the mode is not important, the purpose is important. And it's different, and not to be confused with sales and promotional material. The objective with content is to build a strong relationship with your audience, so that when they're ready to buy, they choose you. And content matters because it's the only type of marketing that people actually want to engage with. So chances are you probably have heard about it. You've been told it's important. Probably most people have attempted some variation of it, but not really understanding how it all fits together, or how the different elements come to make sure that it's actually not just noise or busyness, but moving people towards your business goals. So, and that's what we're looking at today. So the best type of content is content that's relevant, it's actionable, it delivers audience quick wins, it's transformational, and it's branded for connection. And so this is what we're going to look at today. And typically, the best type of content, well, not typically, I can tell you emphatically, there is one type of content that trumps all types of other content when it comes to yielding commercial results, and that is thought leadership. So I kind of gave that away at the beginning because I told you I was going to tell you about it. But thought leadership is amazing because when it's done well, it will demonstrate your usefulness, it will establish your credibility. And it will do that because what you're doing when you're sharing your own knowledge is it will impart it gives people new knowledge. It will also help them shift a perspective or inspire them to action. And the thing is, for those that are familiar with Robert Cialdini's book, or the Principles of Influence, his book and teaching and all of that, will understand reciprocity, where as you give and as you help people, you position yourself then to be front of mind when they have a need that they choose you. So if you're thinking about thought leadership and going, oh, but wait, I'm not a thought leader, or I'm not an expert, I'm not a keynote speaker, I'm not published in an academic peer-reviewed journal, or I haven't written a book or something like that, don't panic, because I've got some really, really cool stuff that's going to show you how this is accessible to anybody, because you don't have to do those things to be a thought leader. I'm just telling you that thought leadership, hands down, is the way to go if you want to stand out, get seen, get heard, become an authority in today's very crowded market. And it's not just me that believes this. Forbes magazine also recently cited thought leadership as the fastest growing marketing discipline, which is one of the reasons why I'm such a fan about it. So I want to give you a couple of statistics, a bit of data to back this up, so you know that we're on the right track with what we're talking about here. So 75% of decision makers in the world's largest study of this type around commercial success and thought leadership, 75% of people said that they follow an organization or a writer based on their thought leadership, which is massive, because that's a real chunk of audience that actually is following you because of those things that because of what you're sharing in terms of inspiration, help, moving people forward, shifting perspective, etc. But here's where it gets really, really interesting, and the numbers tell a very, very compelling story. So 58% of the decision makers said they actually award business based on thought leadership. So this is more than half who are actually making the decision where they put their money and where they make a purchase. And the second one is even more interesting and exciting for me, I think. 61 of people said that they were willing to pay a premium based on good thought leadership. So whether you're delivering services or you've got products, or you're looking for new people and you want to charge a premium price, you want to charge more, you want to be positioned as the upmarket offering, thought leadership is a way to do that. And obviously, if you can position yourself as the premium choice, premium rates or premium prices, things like that, you obviously have a better commercial proposition than being at the value end. So thought leaders are at the higher end, and that's why it's so important. So back to what I told you about not having to write a book or publish a major art piece in Forbes magazine, for example, to be seen as a thought leader. This is a really, really another statistic that you'll find very helpful. 58% of consumers preferred content in snackable format. And this is thought leadership. This context is still in thought leadership content as well. So that means content that can be consumed in a few minutes, which is massive. Because it means, short, sharp, snacky, nugget type pieces of content are where it's at. And social media, for example, is, obviously it's one way of getting it out, but there are other ways as well. And having these short, sharp, snacky is such a relief, because you don't have to feel like, okay, I have to write a book or a keynote or something like that. So when now you're probably convinced of the benefits of thought leadership and how it's really nice to be in a place where people talk, when you talk, people listen, and that because thought leadership is basically an all-in-one system or means or methodology for building that know, like, and trust factor, because obviously it builds awareness, it obviously endears people to you and builds that reciprocity and connection when it's done the right way. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And then because of the authority and credibility piece, it builds that trust factor, which is so important, because those three things need to be in play for someone to do business with you. So what I want to do now is run you through the key elements of a thought leadership content system, because while, content is content, and, it's anything that's out there, content that's specifically built is specifically for the purpose of building thought leadership it has its own nuances. It's different to e-commerce, or it's different to, just professional services or corporate or something. So this is where someone is positioning themselves as an expert. And this doesn't mean just only for personal brands. A lot of businesses are realizing that the founder of the business, even inside the business, and I work with a lot of these, they need to position themselves as the expert, because people don't want to just know the logo anymore. They want to know who's behind the logo and what do they stand for. So whether you're doing it to build your own brand, or you have a business brand and you need to be the face of it, this is a thought leadership content system that will do that. And I want to take you through all of the key elements, because what you need is the visibility. So you need to be seen and accessible, but at the same time, you want to do it from a place of building authority, not just being noise out there in the marketplace. So you become the go-to choice. But then, my whole philosophy, as I told you, you want to do it in a way that's simple and efficient. And so not bouncing around from random things, trying to, see what works. So this system that I'm going to show you and walk you through is something that I've developed over the years, that I use, that I teach people to use, and it works. So I'm going to show you everything that's in it and talk you through that. So the first thing that you need in a thought leadership content system, as I mentioned, is a strong brand. And a strong brand is key because it's very, very holistic. So a lot of people think of brand and they think of a logo or the visuals or the font or the person with the pink hair or the, certain colored jacket that they wear all the time, and that's their brand. And yes, that's a part of it, but it's a very small part of it. And I'm just going to just take you on do a kind of a quick, explain some marketing stuff, but it's going to be easy. You don't have to remember all of this thing. Just my point is giving you a holistic look at what a brand is. So don't freak out. There is your brand. You've got the visuals, which is seen, what's heard, what's felt, and what's done. So these things all work together. Now, if you're thinking, well, what's in that? What does that mean? the top bit, what's seen, that's where a lot of people kind of immediately default to when they think of brand. The obvious things, the logo, the colors, the style, the imagery, the typography, what's seen. But sitting alongside that is going to be your brand voice, what's heard, how people perceive you. If your brand was a person, what kind of personality would they have? The tone, the language, and all of that come into how customers hear you and the voice of what you're speaking. But then at the bottom, there's something that is even more important than that and really undergirds and underpins the brand, and that is your values. And that's come more into preeminence in the last, I guess, couple of years as people have started to become more aware of that. But these are things around what's your why, what you stand for, and whether you actually live by that. Because it's all well and good to say, oh, these are our values, they're up there on the wall, or this is what I stand for, but then your actions and what you say and do and how you present aren't in alignment and aren't congruent with that. And the one thing I can tell you is that these days people have a really, really high, like I told you, those BS detectors, they're working overtime and they can filter out that stuff. And as a result, they will screen out your brand if you don't have this stuff, the felt part right. And this is kind of, my superpower is helping people craft the brand in a way that really, really connects at an emotional level, and why, and the psychology behind that. And it's not hard, like don't freak out, because like you don't have to remember all of this. But it's just to show you these are the elements. Like when I train people in this, I literally have like a very easy like process that shows people, okay, do this, then that, do that, and do that, like hand step them through. But here I just want to give you this holistic understanding of brand, just so you get the gravity of the importance of it. And then fourthly is your value, which is how you make people's lives better. It includes the customer experience, or their experience before they're a customer, after they're no longer a customer, and everything in between at every touch point, whether it's on the phone, at an event, in a letter, an email, any encounter that they have with you in person. Your brand promise. Does your brand deliver in all of those on what it promises? And this is where your content, your thought leadership, and all of your communications come in as well. So all of that together contributes to your brand. And if you're wanting to do thought leadership, it's really super important to have this underpinned by a strong brand. So obviously having your values, then building out the all of those different elements, and having very clear messaging. So obviously it sounds like a lot, but like I said, I want you to park that thought, because it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Like when you have a clear plan and simple steps to follow, it actually is really easy. And that's one of, like I said, the things that I enjoy most is seeing people, eyes light up when they realize how simple and easy it is. They've just been missing a whole bunch of stuff. So some of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to brand is they don't get clear on their brand before they start creating content. And as a result, they end up wasting time and money, because they, have to do it again, or they can't use it. And studies have shown that if you do random stuff, it actually not just is neutral, as in not working for you, can actually damage your brand. And every year, the studies come out, like the Edelman Trust Barometer and others like it, which demonstrate the fact that people are more aligned with trust around brands. It's every year the trust factor around brands and they choose to do business with. This is corporate, personal, professional, all brands. The trust factor is increasingly higher. So when you don't have the trust factor, you're A, missing out on business, but if B, at worst, damaging your brand. And another common mistake is people thinking that they'll just wing it, that they'll just kind of just do whatever and figure it out. But that doesn't serve you, because when you're not clear on those values, you attract the wrong type of client. Like there's no use getting the people who aren't a good fit with you, and that's not a great experience for you. Whereas when you do have it right, by nature, you just attract people who, vibe with you, whether this, I know it's kind of sounds a bit weird, but, professionally, even if it's a small business, they just get you because your values align. And so if you don't build that brand that connects emotionally, those BS detectors are up and people are just crickets. You can have the most, insightful comment out there, but if you don't have connection, it won't get past that filter. And if you don't have that messaging piece in place, then people don't really get what you do. You can talk, but it doesn't land. So you want people to know what you do, who you do it for, and how, and all of that, so that they understand your positioning. So when you do these things, you get that congruency, you get connection, and you have potency through your messaging. It's effective. So I want to introduce you to Andrew. He's someone who's in my Thought Leadership Accelerator program. And he actually in his former life was an architect, but for several years has been an executive therapist and coach in the UK. And so he was really, switched on when it came to understanding visual things. But I love the way he phrased it. When he went through my stuff, he said, before he'd always felt like his stuff didn't add up visually to what he felt it needed to be. And he says, that's changed now. And I finally have a feel and a look that feels congruent to who I am and what I'm doing. And I'm finally really proud of my storefront for the world. And I love that bit, the bit that I kind of lights me up the most, when he says, I have a feel and a look. We often talk about that term, look and feel, but people are starting to get that you need to have a feel and a look. And so I love that, this is the impact that this work has on brands, and then obviously the people that it impacts. So secondly, what you need for high caliber thought leadership content that's going to inspire people to work with you. So the first thing that is part of a successful thought leadership content system is brand. The second thing that's part of a thought leadership content system is how you actually then do the content. So the top is the foundations, then we look at the content. And the three elements that I'm going to show you are critical to a successful content strategy. So let me just fix that for a second. Cool. So the first one is all about strategy. Then we have a plan, and then we actually create the content. So I'm going to talk you through that just quickly. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes into that than I can share with you in these minutes here. But as you have any questions, note them down and come back. And I'm really happy to unpack further or answer all your questions in the Q&A. But people mistakenly start at number 6. We create the content. They think, I've got to put out content. Great, I'm going to create content. What do I create? I don't know. I'll just create this. Or I read there that that's good. I read there that that's good. And they don't have, as can you see now, elements 1 to 5 in place that are going to be the indicators of success of the actual content that they're creating. So obviously, when it comes to a content strategy, it's really, really important to get that strategy right from the beginning. Like you probably all know, fan of Stephen Covey's work and begin with the end in mind is really important with content as well, so that you're not investing your time and money and effort into content that's not going to make a difference, and also that's not going to get leverage for the long term. That's a really kind of big aside that I want to put in there as well, which is when you're thinking about a content strategy, a lot of people just go for the platform without realizing that there are these huge organic sources of traffic that you want to actually get time working for you, not against you, not being at the mercy of an algorithm that's quickly pushing you down and pushing you further away from eyeballs. You want to create different types of content in a way that's actually going to compound in efficiency and effectiveness over time. So obviously that's, a very quick note on strategy, and that's a really, meaty topic that I could, talk a lot more on that. But I just want to give you the highlights. And then when you have a strategy, then it's really important to work out the plan for how you're going to execute on that. Because if you don't have a plan, I will show you what happens. It's all the best whiteboard and strategy and ideas is moot if you don't actually have a plan to put that into action and measure the success of it. So some of the mistakes that come in this section here of the content creation part of a thought leadership content system is that people create content that doesn't align with their business strategy, and so what they create isn't impacting their bottom line. And as a result, they default to, trying random tactics, shiny new toys, content all over the place, and they end up being super tired. And obviously, it's not a good leveraged effort from their investment. which kind of leads to the last point. It becomes so much effort to sustain. They start with the best of intentions, but end up burning out, and as a result, don't build the brand. So when you don't have a strategy, you basically scramble and you just do whatever. You throw mud at the wall, hoping some sticks, but it's really, really tiring. And most of the time it doesn't. When you don't have a plan, and this is super important as well, you procrastinate and you actually put off doing it. So you can have a great strategy and you know what you need to do, but if you don't have a series of steps that you follow to actually get that done in a systemizable, repeatable way, what happens is you go to create and then you're like, flip, what do I have to do? And it's like your brain has to do these gymnastics to figure out what is your content creation process, because there are several steps along the way. And it just gets in the too hard basket, because most people have another life. They have a job and they have a family, or they have other commitments and things like that. So taking out all of that mental energy is super important. And obviously you've got your strategy, your plan, and then at that stage, if you that's where the content comes in. And if you don't create the compelling content, then obviously you don't build your audience, because your great message and what you have to share doesn't get out there. However, when you do have a strategy in place, that's when it's like breathing a big sigh of relief. You've got clarity, you've got direction, you've got focus. It's like the biggest motivator. It's like, it excites you. When you do have a plan, that's when you actually start to put out stuff consistently, because you don't have to think every time you do it, you just do. And so you actually set yourself up to make incremental progress week on week, month on month. And then when you do create compelling content, that's when you start to put out stuff that's remarkable and memorable, and it cuts through. So I want to introduce you to Maureen, who's also in my Thought Leadership Accelerator program, amazing social justice champion on a mission to eradicate youth unemployment in Kenya, and doing, a fine job working with social, micro social organizations there and in Australia, and is, she's a marketer, studied marketing at university, even a master's, but just didn't know how to market herself. So, same thing, understanding strategy is important. And, you see there through going through this process, now she's appearing on top marketing podcasts. She's got direction with her strategy. And I love how she phrases it. She says, if you want to monetize, you need to know the end goals, so the path and the pathway you'll take to get there, so you don't burn out. Because that's what I hate seeing. People who are just out there to be a force for good in the world, they need to get their message out there to be able to do that. But they get tired and burnt out because they don't have that strategy and process in place. And I love, she says, my content isn't guesswork anymore. It's strategic and so valuable and aligned with the brand that I am building. So I love that. That's just so exciting for me. And so number 3 in our, trifecta of, we've got the brand, which is the foundations, then we've got the content. These are the 3 systems that you need so that you can build your authority consistently and sustainably, because it's all well and good to have the great brand, and you need that, and great content that's remarkable and strategic and aligned with your business goals. That's great too. But then you need that. I'm going to show you 3 systems that I use and that I help people use to do this sustainably and consistently, because the secret to effective content marketing is to know what your audience loves, but secondly, having the right setup to deliver it consistently. I love that quote, probably because I coined it. But this is all about making your content visible and accessible, because if you have all the great content and it's all sitting there but people aren't seeing it, then you don't need me to tell you that there's a massive disconnect there. So I'm going to show you the 3 systems that I recommend you have in place to avoid that happening. And if you've got any aha moments in the chat, if you're going like, oh my gosh, this is where I've missed it, or I'm great at that but I suck at that, or I realize why I'm not doing it, drop it in the chat. I would love to hear or see what you're getting from this as well, so that I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. I probably shouldn't do it right now, but I will. this is me trying to kind of cram a whole, like, feels like sometimes like a marketing semester into a short presentation, but I know that pennies are starting to drop around this point. So the 3 systems are: refine your repurposing, is powering up your promotion, and the third one is amplifying your authority. So repurposing, so you've got your content. We've talked about that in section 2 and what it takes to get the right content ready. So you got your content ready. The 3 systems, like repurposing, is then about a systematized and smart way to get that in front of the right people on multiple platforms and in different mediums. Okay, so again, this is the thing that your brain will go into overload if you have to try and sit down and do it manually. You need a system. The second one is about promotion, because you've got all this multiplied content that's out there and ready to go. You need a system for distribution. You need a system for promotion. You need a system for getting it in front of the right eyeballs. And then the third one is around amplifying your authority. So if you're talking about amplifying your authority, is great when you've got something and you know it works and you've got elements 1 to 8 in place. And when we talk about amplify your authority, we're talking about things like joint ventures, guest posts, PR, paid advertising. These things, when you know you've got something that works, a messaging that's landing with people, that's the time then, if you imagine it like pouring, petrol on a fire and it will explode. Well, you want to make sure you got the fire burning first before you go and throw the petrol on it. And way too many people kind of run down and, try and, go on, do all these things, throw money on ads and do these things before they know that they've got messaging and content that actually lands, and before they've actually positioned themselves as an authority. So you want to do all of those things first and then amplify it. So just by way of example, and I'm not going to go too deep because I don't want to fry your brain too much. I know it's after dinner and you're probably all just in relax mode. So I'm not going to go too crazy on the examples here. But one example, of a very fairly simple repurposing strategy would be something like that, which it has a fairly, I'd say that's a medium degree of difficulty to execute that well on a repeatable basis, low to medium, right? And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have something like this, which is a whole system that I created, which is the one that, my agency would implement for companies, which would literally take one piece of content and turn that into over 100 pieces of high quality thought leadership content in all different formats and different platforms and different mediums, etc. And that, in terms of you using the diving analogy, that probably has like a difficulty level of 10 or something like that. But these are examples of different systems. And the important thing is not specifically even that you have a certain system, but that you have a system and that you are building on that as well. So it's really important. I mean, you can go out and develop your own systems for sure. And that's what I did. Like, it took me months, and that's with, a lot of marketing background and experience as well. And you could totally do that and experiment and, probably take you a couple of years. Or you can go and find someone who has a system that, they know works and kind of plug into that and save a lot of time and mistakes and learning. And that's an example of, kind of thing that a lot of people do with me. So a lot of the mistakes that people make in this area, and I'm going to show you, you'll understand why now. Common mistakes when it comes to content is, for sure, creating way too much stuff and not using what you already have. So there's a really well-known digital marketer, Neil Patel. You might have heard of him in the SEO space. It's not, great guy around SEO. Talks about the fact that content creation should be 20% of your content creation time, and promotion should be 80% of the time. So promotion, getting the content out there, is as important, if not more important, than the volume of content that you are producing. But the problem that I see so much is people have great content, but people aren't seeing it. So something else that you really want to avoid is exhausting yourself trying to manually repurpose. Every time you have a great piece of content and you go, oh man, this is good. Oh, I should just, try and work out what I can even do with it. How can I get it in front of more people? That is exhausting. And as a result, most people don't do it and they waste a really valuable piece of content. And another mistake is thinking that one channel is enough. Just being on one place isn't enough anymore, because with the drive towards, people, if they're thinking of buying from you, and I'm talking to commercially smart people here, not just, people who are just posting here and there. But if people are seriously considering doing business, they'll check you out on multiple channels just to see if things add up, and just to see, if you are who you say you are. And it doesn't mean you have to be active on all of those, but you need to have some sort of brand presence. So however you can automate and systematize that while still maintaining integrity, authenticity, and uniqueness is really, really important, because that then allows you to leverage and move into omnipresence. So when you don't have repurposing, as I said, you end up wasting a lot of content. When you don't promote it, you have great content, but it doesn't get enough reach. And when you don't amplify your authority, you miss out on high value opportunities. And it's really like a very little additional effort to get a lot more of mass exposure. But the idea is you need to have the foundations right in there. So when you do, however, get your repurposing right, that's when you set yourself up for multiplication. And when you do actually promote, you get way wider distribution. And when you amplify your authority, that's when the omnipresence kicks in. So these 3 systems that I recommend that you have, which is going to help you to actually get your content out in front of people and do it in a way, like every system you have, it takes burden off you. And that's why I'm so big on this, because if I had to try and create something from scratch every time, it wouldn't happen. But having a multiplication system, a distribution system, and an omnipresent system is going to take your content, which is built on a strong foundation, and get it everywhere. So if you don't have these scalable systems, it's just not going to be sustainable. That's basically it. And without all of those things, you aren't able to build that visibility, which is, when you've got systems and brand and it's going out consistently, you start to be visible. When you've got your strong brand that's underpinning really high caliber content, that's what builds authority. And then, as you know, I'm all about the systems and efficiency. At the bottom, when you have the systems and the content together, that's where the simplicity comes in, because otherwise it would be, you don't want to be trying to feel like you're doing rocket science trying to get your stuff out there. So while I take a very quick breather after all of that, to get onto before I get onto my next time, I would love to know if you feel that this is all coming together, and if you are starting to see where there might be something in your own content journey, in your own brand building journey, that you might have been missing something. So I'm just going to take a very quick sip of water, and then I'm going to kick on in our last few minutes. Thank you. This mum is thirsty. So just to recap today, you learned hands down why thought leadership is the best content for your bottom line. Can't emphasize that enough. And I hope you really got that. You also learned the 3 elements to building a strong brand in a way that builds your authority and, gets that commercial outcomes, which is having the strong brand, having the high caliber thought leadership content, and then having the 3 systems that I talked about. So you're watching this because if you're going, oh yeah, this is kind of me, it's probably because you're ready to take your place as a thought leader and be the go-to expert in your space that's respected, that has people coming to you rather than you trying to do a whole bunch of things that, may probably aren't working. And you're probably feeling like you want to build a strong brand and business, but without wasting the time on stuff that nobody cares about. You want every moment of your effort to be highly, highly leveraged, which is so important, because you want a simple problem, a simple solution to what for a lot of people is content overwhelm. So imagine with me for a moment, if you could remove that overwhelm around content and actually simplify, but at the same time know that, the content that you were putting out was making you look amazing. It really was positioning you as the go-to expert in your market, and you actually were getting business results from your content, like tangible results from it. So if you're ready to get your message out into the world and not just have those commercial impact, but also commercial opportunities, but also the impact side of it as well, which, is probably the part that lights me up the most, to be honest. But if this all sounds good and you're saying yes, 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 and I've shared that process, but you're ready to actually go deeper into it and you want to experience the benefit of the right strategy and systems to actually power your content creation, to build your brand and get your message out there, and you're ready to implement, well, I'm very excited to let you know about my Thought Leadership Accelerator, which is a program that I run, which is filled with some truly amazing people. And this is a 90-day program that will show you how to create a content system, and it won't just show you, it will actually step you through it step by step, specifically for the purpose of building thought leadership that will position you as a trusted authority in your industry in 90 days or less without having to pay for ads or work yourself to burn out. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take 5 minutes for those that are interested, just to quickly explain what's in the program, and then we're going to do our Q&A. But inside the Thought Leadership Accelerator is, there's video training, and I don't give you 1 hour videos. No one's got time for that. I give you short, sharp, punchy videos. I like, watch this short video, a few minutes, do this. Watch this video, do this. It's literally hand holding all the way. Plus there is group coaching, which is actually more than monthly, because I do it to accommodate all the time zones, whether, we have people in America and Europe and obviously Australia. And there is everything in there that you need to basically go through this whole process. I'll show you, it's marketing advice and strategy from someone who hopefully by now, knows what they're talking about. It's also all of the systems and processes that you can go through yourself, but combined with hand-holding and support and mentorship for 6 months. So you have access to all of the resources, all of the program, the coaching, the systems and everything, plus me. Like, I literally personally critique your stuff. I give you feedback, I give you guidance, I give you help, you have a place to ask questions as you implement it. Because I know that's where a lot of people get stuck. There's a lot of information out there, and even the best curated information, which is what this is, a kind of, everything is out there in YouTube and Google if you want to look for it, but you have to look through 1,000 people telling you to do the wrong thing to find the good stuff. So having this step-by-step thing where you literally are spoon-fed of what you need in the order that you need to do it, and you actually get results really quickly, is very, very liberating. So by the end, if you're thinking, well, what will I actually have from the end of it? In the end, you'll have a clear plan for monetizing your content. You will have a strong and vibrant brand that connects emotionally. And that's not like, within months either. You literally have that within a couple of weeks following my process. You will have a high quality lineup of thought leadership content that positions you as an expert in your field and aligns with your business strategy. And you'll also have a personalized content system that works and that can scale. So, I showed you all the different elements of what a thought leadership content system includes. And I actually step you through every single one of those things, right through understanding how to be commercially minded with your content and how to set those content goals that align with your business goals, through to articulating your values. And, between you, me, and the fence post, a lot of people come in saying, oh, I've done the values, or I've got these few words. I say, you know what, take the hour to go through this process, and I promise you it will change your life. And hands down, I don't think there's anyone who's ever gone through this that hasn't found it not just a profound marketing experience, but life-changing experience in terms of the clarity and focus and positioning and alignment that comes through that. And that is part of the brand building experience. So then we go into, okay, these are the elements that you need to do to build your brand, and you have a brand style guide within a couple of weeks of doing this. Then we get onto your messaging, where this is where we cut through the confusion of what to say and what are you known for and how do you position yourself. We talk about things like pivoting. If you're known for something and you want to be known for something else, completely doable. You know, do you do personal brand or business brand, all, and how they work together, and how you turn your ideas into the high converting content and monetize your message. That's when we then once you've got those three things done, which is the foundations, your values, brand, and messaging, then we clock on to the content side of things, and we start the strategy, and we look at things like what platforms should you be on, how you leverage your existing assets, how you choose your topics and themes, and how you start to develop a content system that's right for you. And then we go into plan your process, where we actually step it out and map your content workflow and your ideas capture system, and we create your SOPs. So these are things like, this whole system is, it's like that analogy, you know, teach a man to fish. So we teach you how to do this so you aren't reliant on someone else, an agency or a contact or a freelancer, but I also give you all of this in a way that you can completely delegate your SOPs and your things to a VA, a freelancer. And I know a lot of us are really, you know, highly used to having, you know, members of teams that support us. And I know, you know, Cheryl is brilliant at helping people go through that. And so having a way to make it really easy for them to support you is priceless. So having plans and documentations and understanding who to put in the right positions is gold, because it means you're not trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and you give them the tools and the system and the guidance and support that they need to help you get the right results, which obviously in turn looks great for you because it makes you look good, but it also helps that team dynamic and that team relationship. So that's one thing that I'm really big on, is empowering you to be able to delegate the bits of this whole process without compromising the integrity, uniqueness, and authority of what you're producing. So then we are going to create your content, which, as you know from what I shared, is you know, you want to have all the foundational things in place, but to be honest, a lot of those foundational things are, you do it once properly, and then it's done, and then you actually get to leverage the benefits of that for years to come. And it's not hard, it's not complex. It's actually very, very straightforward. So then we go into content and implementation, and there's so different, this is where it becomes a bit of a choose your own adventure, what mediums and modes, and I give you training to work out what's right for you and what you should do in the order that you should do it, whether you're doing written, video, graphical, and how to do it and how to delegate it and how to work with people to make it super easy for them to help you. And then we look at, once you got your content, repurposing strategy and how to multiply your content with minimal effort. And we look at different project management systems and tools and ways to do this. Again, you know, how to delegate this one effectively, because this is one that absolutely could and should be delegated if, you know, you are an expert and you want to leverage your time. And then we look at promotion. And this is super important, how to put your content library to work for you, how to get 10 times more eyeballs on your content, and how to get it in front of the right people, and how to do that consistently and do it in a way as well that sets you up for conversion for people that want to take the next step with you. And then we look at amplifying your authority and setting you up for, you know, the 6 or 12 months in advance. Also, a couple of bonus things that will help you when you want to go further and do things like, you know, how to use your content for things like PR and JVs and social advertising and a lot more. And there's another bridge here, which is not technically part of the content thought leadership content system, but the bridge between the content system and the actual commercialization, which is things around list building, email marketing, lead magnets, and all of that, which is essential. So I take you through that as well. Plus, if you do, there is a pay in full bonus, because I will give you a payment plan or a pay in full. I have a complete VA inner box toolkit, and this would probably be super interesting to a lot of you here, because it's all the tools and systems that you can give to a VA to help them, especially if you have a digital course business or a membership. This is years of my learning, documenting, refining, step-by-step guides, checklists, workflow, SOPs, templates, swipe files, and copy, which I've put into one big knowledge vault that literally, like, I have a membership for young marketers, like, that I would run in like 4 hours a month. Everything else, from emails to chatbot to reminders to group to portal to information, is delegated. I just do the strategy, the thinking, and the presentation. That's it. So that's all in there as well. So probably wondering what the investment is to get this whole training around thought leadership content system and the support and mentorship that comes with that. Obviously, hiring someone to do it in excess, like my agency would do, I mentioned to you, would be, you know, in the excess of $5,000 to $7,000 a month to do it. And again, it's not teaching you to fish. You're being dependent on someone else doing it. If you were to hire me as your one-on-one coach to step you through that, it would be at least $15,000 a year. Or if you were to hire me for a day to come and help you, it'd be $5,000, close to that. And you can certainly do that, and we can get a lot done. But I also want you to think around mastering what it would take to master this yourself, like wasting money on creative that doesn't look good, or setting your team up the wrong way and hiring the wrong help and getting frustrated because you're not getting the output from people that you wanted them, but you're not giving them the tools and equipment and guidance to help them get the best out of it, especially when it comes to your marketing. And obviously, you know, the potential negative effects on your brand, and the cost of the frustration and still being there in the same place. You know, I'll get to it, and 6 months later or a year later, you're still in the same place. So obviously, I'm not going to give you some, you know, huge mega long value stack with, you know, different, you know, overinflated stuff. I'm just going to tell you that for sure, this is worth way more than $5,000. The system, the strategy, the advice, the coaching, the support, the personalized critique and feedback would be easily double that. But if you're interested and it's sounding good, you can start today, the good news, for just $397 on a payment plan with only 5 easy payments. Or you can pay in full, and it's only $19.97 for this complete program for 6 months. So, and if you want to do the payment plan, it's $397, and it's only for 6 payments instead of 8 payments, which is regularly $24.97. But for people watching this workshop and for the next couple of days, running a special offer for people here today, where it's just $19.97. So, Roxanne, if you can just drop a link in the comments in case people would, for anyone who wants to go deeper and have a look at the page and what's included. I mean, I've kind of stepped you through it anyway, but here's what's going to happen. If you go to the page and you're keen to join us, if you are, I would love to have you in the program. I'm a super fun person to hang out with and help you over 6 months, and I know you would absolutely love it. So if that's you, and we're just about to get to the Q&A, but I just wanted to show you very quickly what will happen, just so you know what the process is and how you get instant access to all of that goodness. You go to the enrollment page where you choose either a pay in full or installment option. Then you'll go to a secure checkout. And then immediately from there, you'll be inside the members area. So you could literally be starting this tonight and consuming all of this amazing content right now. And so you join the private members Facebook group, which is an extraordinary peer support community, some truly amazing people in there. Yeah, so just to recap on that, you can get started today for $397. And I know some of you might have some questions. And so I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer them in more detail after we finish, but I actually want to, just basically wrap this up. But some of the things that I will answer in a few minutes will be, you know, a lot of people say they're not quite sure about becoming a thought leader, or that they're not sure what they want to be known for yet. Or they're already experienced at marketing, doesn't work for a brick and mortar business, or they don't have time for a program, or they don't have an online program. The thing that I want to leave you with is that thought leadership is going to help your business, whatever aspect you are doing. So if you're wanting to create more demand for your professional services, building authority is going to help you. If you want to charge more and a premium for your products and services, it's going to help you. If you want to get better clients and top clients and actually be able to pick and choose, it's definitely going to help you. If you want to have more impact, and I work with so many people who are doing extraordinary things in the world, they've got a message to share, or there's that ripple effect. There's a really large proportion of people that I help that are Black, Indigenous, people of color. And it's really important, as you're wanting to make impact, to be seen as an authority. And this is where a thought leadership system comes into place. If you want to sell programs or memberships or deliver online stuff, if you want to do partnerships, joint ventures, if you want to do collaborations with big names, being an authority will actually elevate the type of companies that you can work for, or whether you're wanting to land keynotes or speaking gigs, these all come out of a place of being a recognized authority. Or, finally, if you wanted to build a brand you can exit, like I did several years ago, then building authority will help you do that as well. Basically, building an authority will help you get more impact in whatever sphere you're in. So just one more look at the program before we wrap up. You get access to everything: video training, lessons, entire framework, chunked down, spoon fed to you, group coaching, peer support community, personalized critique, and support from myself. So yeah, that's basically it. I really want to thank you so much, before we get into the Q&A session, for staying through the presentation, and I really hope you learned something. If you'd like to, join me in the program, I'd love to have you. But yeah, I think we might just get into some questions, and Cheryl, I might just give it back to you. And if you've got anything you want to say while I have a drink, please do.
Have a big glug of water. That was amazing. And thank you. I mean, that was definitely a lot of information, but it's huge amount of value. Thank you, Nina. But that's such a value-packed coaching package. How much is in there? I personally know, in terms of having systems in place, because we help clients with virtual assistants. Like, it is so important to have systems and processes, particularly with marketing. And we have so many clients who are always sort of looking at, how can I market myself more, but I don't have time, right? The big thing. Mum of 5, you had to find a way to be able to scale and systemize your business. And whether you have no children at all, it's all about seeing where you can spend your time. And I love that there is a system and coaching in place to say, hey, you take one piece of content and break it up into over 100. Can you imagine? That's incredible. That's really
absolutely.
incredible.
And that was so huge. Like, when we cottoned on to how to do this efficiently and effectively, like for firms of small businesses, suddenly it made it accessible for them to become a thought leader, because they're like, no, all you have to do is sit down for an hour a month, or on whatever frequency. For some, that 1 hour would last them for 3 months worth of content, and actually come up with stuff. And then, everything that's going out there is leveraged. And it's at the same time, it's authentic, it's building their brand. It's not like farming it out and then coming up with random stuff that's not helping you. It's actually an expression of you, and it's all working together and aligned. So yes, I absolutely love it, Cheryl.
Excellent. And how much of it is sort of, when someone say, all right, I'm a thought leader, because I dare say a lot of people have this sort of imposter syndrome, right?
Yes. 100%.
Is there something in your course that sort of talks to that, and how you
very,
out of
very
that?
much so. And I'll quickly, if you'd like to, I can introduce you to a couple of the people in that, in the program, some of their stories, because it kind of addresses that. One in particular, I want to show you Vania, who she wasn't sure. Like, she runs a charity. She her charity does prevention of violence against women in El Salvador. And she runs this charity, and she was like, first of all, they were struggling with their marketing and thinking about content and social media and all the rest. And then when this penny dropped, and she realized from just watching my training that she was the thought leader, and that the way I love the quote here, she said, the game changer for me was when you said that the content had to come from me, because in my organization, I am the thought leader and I'm driving the organization. It's coming out of my heart and who I am. That then she would realize that, oh, wow, the content just has to come out. And that's what I'm doing. Like, I just kind of, it's like me, like the genie and the bottle. I just teach you how to like lift the lid off so that what's in you can come out. And you have everyone who is, an expert or knowledgeable in a space, or helping some people in some capacity, have repository of gold inside them, great information. They're just unsure how to extract it and get it out there into the world. So I am a firm believer that that thought leadership is for everyone, and that anyone can be a thought leader. It's not a title bestowed on someone with a PhD or someone with an international brand. As you step up and actually start to really help people with your content and share insightful, perspective shifting information. And that's the kind of thing, obviously, I step people through the program to teach them how to do that. And one other person that I could introduce you to help understand this is Karen, who is probably one of our country's, she's Indigenous, a First Nations woman, powerful woman who's a trauma coach, and she works with the government and the army and a lot of Indigenous organizations helping people overcome trauma. And when she first joined, she was like, oh, yeah, people have told me I should do marketing, but, marketing, what's that? I just do my thing, I help people and I help them heal and work through their stuff. Wasn't sure about marketing, much less thought leadership. And what she got through this is real clarity around who she is and how you share that with the world. Like, thought leadership is just the vehicle that we use to share this with the world, and anybody can actually do that. And when you have, and like she says here, it's clearer with a roadmap, and that's what you get with the program. You literally have somebody who steps you through, do this, then this, then this, then this. So you're not trying to make sense of, Google and YouTube and trying to work it out and piece it together. And the big takeaway for her is, about not having fear about showing up and marketing herself, being really clear. She's a podcast host, and she's really clear and showing up live and doing her thing. And yeah, so look, in terms of thought leadership, if I was going to write a book, it would be all one day, probably like thought leadership is for everyone. And so I really don't want people to get put off by that term thought leadership. I want it, another way to say it is like a content system for experts that helps you get your message out there, because it's really different to someone's marketing a widget or a fashion item or something like that. How you do that is very different when you're marketing yourself and you're marketing your knowledge and you're marketing your ability to help people, whether that's via professional services or through a program or through something that you do or sell. It's very different, and people need to understand that you are a solution to their problem. And so this is a vehicle that helps them do that.
And Nina, what if I'm not a great writer, or I'm not a great presenter, like being able to talk for an hour and on end? Like, how do you work? Does this work for an introvert type person?
Absolutely. And what I'll do is I'll just stop sharing the screen. And I just saw a question there from Khaled, which says, why is in US dollars? Probably because a lot of people are overseas in North America and US, and it tends to be more of a global standard currency versus Australia. So if you're in Australia, don't take offense. I'm in Australia as well. And at the moment, the exchange rate is much better than it was 6 months ago as well. So it's a good time. But because it's a global program and we have people from all around the world, it just makes it a lot simpler like that. And Cheryl's obviously explained that already. So your question was about, refresh my memory because I just got distracted.
Oh yes. So what if I'm someone that I don't write very well,
right.
or I'm not really comfortable in front of video or presenting.
Yep. So what we would do is I would encourage you, and so I take you through the different mediums and I tell you kind of how to get familiar with that and also how to build the muscle. So I'll tell you first of all that nobody is comfortable on any medium when they first start out. So I would call myself now a competent, capable, good copywriter. I'm comfortable expressing my thoughts, but I'll also freely tell you that as an equally talented and competent marketer, 4 or 5 years ago, I was so nervous about sharing my thoughts in writing that I wrote, and then I would go and pay. There's just me being transparent. I would go and pay someone to go and edit my work and fix it up because I didn't feel, and this is my bad, like something that I've learned and grown through. I didn't feel like I was good enough as a writer. The reality is that it was just a mindset thing, and B, okay, I'm not as good as I am now, but I am what I am now because of the practice. And it's the same thing with video. When I look back and see my first videos, I just want to crawl into a hole. Like I'm just like, no, this is so cringy. But you have to start somewhere. And there's a saying that I love. You have to be prepared to suck at something in order to become good at it. So you choose. So there's part of us that would lean to one or another. Like there's options for audio only, there's options for video, there's options for written. They are the three main ones. And then I encourage people to lean into one major one, and then from there, like create in your mode of choice. So I was working with someone this week from the US, and their preferred medium is live streaming. And live streaming is actually a really good way for anyone to get started, to be honest, because it forces you to go on video in a way that pre-recorded videos never does. And I feel like I improved my own video like 100 times simply by forcing myself to go live. And the more you do it, the better you get. So and his preferred medium is live stream. Doesn't write and finds pre-recorded video too tiresome, and I get that. And some people don't like. They need the hand gestures, they need the facial expressions, they need the interaction of video. And so we developed a complete 6 months worth of in that scenario we were working like as a one-on-one VIP day, and so we just developed 6 months, like in a day, 6 months of content, of the topics, of the schedules and the plans for all his live streams for 6 months, and then the repurposing plan and what's going to happen. And it's going to literally go out, like, because they're in the software repurposing space, over 100 pieces of content a week are going out. So I don't recommend that for most people, but he is works with the who's who in the zoo and the online space and all the rest. So they are at the and they are at the leading edge of that, so putting out that volume. But even for him, I'm like, don't go and create on all those different platforms. Lean into the one that you are comfortable with, which is your live stream. And every single one of those 120 pieces per week that's coming out of that are all going to come from that one 15-minute live stream that you do each week. So for some people, I'd say write frequently and write a blog, or, do a YouTube video and do that consistently and take it from there. Don't be trying to create on multiple platforms unless you've got time to spare. Of course, you can do it. But yeah, I help people to work out which is their preferred medium and lean into that, and then go, okay, here's all the systems if you want to do audio and podcast. Here's all the systems if you want to start from written. Here's all the systems if you want to start from video. But at the end of the day, whatever it is, you just have to start, and you're going to get better as you go along.
Yeah, and I think one of the key things as well that you mentioned is that level of consistency. Like, keep it consistent, but consistency that's manageable for you.
Yes, absolutely. So and something that I probably I should have I didn't do it as part of my presentation, but I just had a thought to offer it to anyone who was watching live or who's watching the replay in the next in the next day or so, and makes it this far through. Actually, if anyone buys tonight in the first 24 hours, want to offer a one-on-one virtual mentoring day on a Voxer day. It's a very, very powerful extra that I've never offered as part of this program before, but it's literally, we set aside a day and you get to ask me any and all questions about anything marketing, your business, your strategy, and we go back and forth on voicemail and text throughout the whole day. And so that is amazing. Like I said, I've never offered it as part of this program ever before. And the idea just came to me earlier today. You know what? I want to offer that for Cheryl's people. So
Amazing.
yeah, if you want to jump in, I'll make sure that you get that as well.
Thank you. Wow, that's so cool. I would love to hear if there's anyone that has questions here. Thank you. I mean, you've made it this far, so I'm sure there's been a whole lot of value there. I noticed as well, and got me really excited, was seeing your genius model. So I don't know if you're familiar with that term, the
Yes.
genius model. With this is your 3 things, and I'm like, that's really powerful to see how that all comes together and why, how people can then scale their marketing. I think this the whole part of being able to scale it, systemize it, is incredible.
Yes.
So yeah, I love, I think it's fantastic value for what's begin. So is there a start date for
No,
the
you can
course?
start straight away. It's on demand and it's
Okay.
done in a way that basically you just as the pace that you want to go, it comes to you. So you can do the whole thing as fast or as long, as short or as long. Like I recommend 90 days is a really good container in terms of how much time you need to put. Look, it has to be just only a couple of hours a week. I say if people can find time to watch a movie a week, if you can watch a decent movie a week, you have time to do this instead. It's literally a couple of hours a week of the training and implementation and coaching, all of that. So it's not like heavy duty. And if you do it over 90 days, you will make that progress. Having said that, you get the access to the whole container, plus all the resources and support and coaching and critique and everything for 6 months, just to, give you extra time there.
We've got a question here from Rafiq. He's asked, is less considered effective when it comes to content or more considered effective?
Yeah, Rafiq, I'd love to know what industry you're in. That'd be really cool. So when we talk about less, it depends what we're talking about less of. If we're talking about less content just for the sake of it, that's not great content, then I'd say, yes, less of that is better. If you have good content, you're in marketing. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so if you have thought leadership content, then obviously the more content that you're putting out, the better. However, I would rather have one killer piece of awesome content and repurpose and promote the heck out of it than have 10 pieces of mediocre content. Because once you have a great piece of content, you can slice and dice and reposition and do lots of great things with it that are going to serve you. And that's going to get more engagement from your audience when the content is really good than like a lot of mediocre pieces. So less in one sense, but if you're obviously great at putting out great thought leadership content, then as you grow and as you put in place more systems, you'll be able to scale that and improve your delivery and get it out to more people. So less distribution is not great. I would say more distribution, more promotion is good because you want to get it in front of more eyeballs. But in terms of my philosophy is create less, but create good and promote a lot more and let the systems and team and processes do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Hope that helps. Feel free to unpack. Yes, great.
Yeah, I sort of the image that came to me was sort of go deep, but then go wide. Like you can go deep into the content. And so does that mean? I mean, do people then say if we said one piece of content and we're talking about, is it one topic or is content? It could be various topics in one content because I'm like,
it's a really good question. There are a few areas that to be a thought leader are really good to cover off on. And we go in depth in each of those areas in my program, because ideally you have, 4 or 5 you know, might have heard the term pillars or buckets, which
Mm.
are areas that you talk about which are complementary. So those things shouldn't be kind of random things. You don't talk about, you know, like completely, you know, finances and then law and family and marketing, you know, that would be confusing. You know, but for me, as an example, my a lot of my core pillars are very much around, obviously, thought leadership content and branding and content and possibility and impact. And so, and that there, you know, there's one or two others that I have as well. And so that becomes like you have your umbrella, which is what you're known for, and then you have various aspects under that that all speak to that. And so what you want to do is move away from just having how-to content, which is like factual stuff, which is things that they can Google. And you want to extract more of what's here, which is the values and the heart. And that's what really connects people when you actually start to talk about what you stand for and what you believe in. And that combined with the other stuff is a very powerful combination. And the other last thing, which is going to help you and all the people on here a lot, is you know, in your content, talking about things that are going to help people in your area of expertise overcome blocks and limiting beliefs and things like that that they can't do. Because, you know, one of the biggest gifts that you can give anyone through your content, and just like, you know, I'm doing on this presentation that I do a lot in my content, is helping people see that they can do it, and actually helping, you know, paint a picture and create a bridge. And so if you think about that, that's not necessarily like the how-to nuts and bolts of it, but it fits within the different type of thought leadership content. So yeah, having those kind of 4 or 5 areas that you are within, doesn't mean you can't occasionally do something else, but most of the things you want to be in there because you need to be known for something. And, you know, it takes a couple of months of putting out content consistently to be known for something. And this is the fastest way to do it.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely. That was amazing, Nina. Thank you.
My
If
pleasure.
if anyone has any other questions, it's going once, going twice, and it's a wrap up. That was
Yes,
incredible. I
we
think
are. We're going
they've
to go
done.
back to our kids now, Cheryl.
I don't know if I want to. Are they? Shouldn't they be asleep? Please.
No, mine aren't. I know they got extra gaming time while Mum was doing this. So
Yeah.
thank you, everybody, so much for hanging around. It was really
Thank
a pleasure
you.
to present to you tonight. I hope it was helpful, and thank you so much, Cheryl, for having me. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Greg, in the chat. And yeah, there will be a replay available. So if there are any bits that you wanted to recap on, we'll send you out some details of that. And, you know, if after all of this you feel like that my Thought Leadership Accelerator is for you, then I would absolutely love to welcome you and help you through the program. Thank you, Monica, for your content, for your comment there as well too.
Awesome, Nina. I know there are a few people that reached out to me just before to say they couldn't quite make it. Is there going to be a replay? So there will be one sent out in the next few days as well. So thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have an amazing evening or wherever you are in the world. Keep safe, keep well, and we'll see you again next time. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.